Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're heading over to southwestern France, specifically the Tarn River. We're looking into this really fascinating, almost unbelievable story of animal adaptation.
Yeah, it's quite something.
We're talking about a freshwater fish that, well, essentially decided it wanted to hunt like a killer whale,
Yeah.
crossing that major ecological boundary, the line between water and land, just to grab lunch.
It's a truly striking example. You see this kind of behavioral flexibility, maybe even evolution, sort of happening right before our eyes. Our source for this deep dive is a 2012 paper by Cucherousset and his colleagues.
Right.
And the title, well, it grabbed attention immediately. Freshwater killer whales. Beaching behavior of an alien fish to hunt land birds.
That title really says it all, doesn't it? The shock value is right there. So our mission today is to unpack the science behind that headline.
Exactly.
We want to look at what this behavior actually is, how the researchers proved it wasn't, just a weird one-off thing, and what it tells us about adaptation when a species gets moved somewhere new.
Yeah, the core idea is how this introduced freshwater fish picked up this incredibly specialized high-risk hunting move, something you'd normally only expect from, top marine predators like orcas.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Who's the predator here?
Right, the fish is the European catfish, Silurus glanus. Now, this is a big fish. It's the third largest freshwater fish in the world, the biggest in Europe.
Wow.
They can grow over 2 meters long, weigh hundreds of pounds. But the key thing here, in this specific river, the Tarn, they're alien. They were introduced there, not native.
Introduced back in the 80s, I think.
That's right, 1983. So they haven't been there that long in evolutionary terms.
And their new party trick, this intentional beaching.
Mm-hmm.
They literally throw their huge bodies out of the water onto the riverbank to ambush pigeons.
Colombia, Libya, right? Pigeons just hanging out near the edge.
Yeah, pigeons gathering to drink or clean themselves. And it matters because, well, launching yourself onto land is a massive risk for a fish.
Huge risk. Most predators that hunt near the water's edge are more passive. Think crocodiles, just waiting in the shallows.
Right, waiting for something to come to them.
Exactly. Or maybe fish that grab stuff falling in, or like archer fish that shoot water to knock insects down into the water. They keep the action in their own element.
But this catfish, it's doing the opposite. It's leaving the water, risking getting stranded just to snatch a pigeon.
Precisely. That active, committed crossing is super rare. You pretty much only see it in those marine mammals, killer whales, some dolphin populations that deliberately beach themselves for a moment to grab seals or fish.
Hence the title, Freshwater Killer Whales.
Yeah.
It draws that direct parallel.
It does. And what makes it even more striking is that this behavior, this beaching, it's never been seen in the catfish's native range, east of the Rhine River where they originally come from.
So it really points to a rapid localized adaptation. Something about this specific French River environment pushed or allowed them to develop this new strategy.
It certainly looks that way. Maybe new pressures, maybe new opportunities they didn't have back home.
Okay, so how did Cucherousset and the team actually study this? Proving it's a real consistent behavior, not just anecdotes.
Well, they needed solid evidence, obviously. The study site was right in the Tarn River, actually within the city center of Albi, a place where these catfish have been established since that 1983 introduction.
Okay.
And they used a two-pronged approach. First up was behavioral monitoring.
Just watching them.
Pretty much, but systematically. They did 24 surveys, clocked about 72 hours of observation time in total between June and October of 2011.
Right.
They focused on this specific gravel island where the pigeons like to gather. The goal was simple. Film the attacks, count them, and figure out how often they actually succeeded.
Okay, so that gives you the what and how often. But how do you know if it's just like a desperate snack for a few weird individuals versus a real dietary shift?
Exactly. Watching only tells you so much. That's where the second method, the chemistry part, comes in. Stable isotope analysis, or SIA.
Ah, the chemical fingerprints.
Precisely. SIA lets you look at the stable isotopes of elements like carbon and nitrogen D13C and D15N in the fish's tissues. Think of it like a long-term dietary record.
Right.
It tells you what the fish has been eating consistently over time, not just in the last few hours. And crucially, land-based prey like pigeons have a very different isotope signature compared to aquatic stuff like crayfish or other fish.
So the pigeons would really stand out chemically.
They really do. To do this, they sampled 14 catfish covering a wide size range from just under a meter up to 2 meters long.
Okay.
And they also collected samples of the potential food items, The aquatic stuff, grayfish and cyprinid fish, and the terrestrial stuff, the pigeons from nearby.
Got it. So you have the signatures of the fish and all the potential foods.
Then comes the clever part. They use these things called Bayesian mixing models, SIR specifically. It's like a sophisticated statistical tool.
Okay.
You feed in the isotope values of the prey and the predator, and the model calculates the most probable contribution of each food source to that predator's diet.
So it estimates, like, this fish got 40% of its diet from pigeons, 60% from fish, that kind of thing.
Exactly that. It gives you probabilities and ranges. It's the definitive way to show if pigeon eating is a genuine long-term specialization for some of these catfish.
All right, so they did the observations, they did the chemistry.
Yeah.
What did they find? Let's start with the behavior, the actual beaching.
The results from the filming are, well, pretty dramatic. They recorded 54 separate beaching events where the fish ended up partly or fully stranded on the bank.
54 times they saw this happen.
Yes, and get this, the success rate, 28%.
Wait, 28%. Nearly a third of the time, a fish launching itself onto land actually caught a bird.
Yep, that means 15 successful captures were filmed. The fish grabbed the bird, managed to wriggle back into the water, and presumably swallowed it.
That seems remarkably successful for such an acrobatic and risky move.
It does. And these weren't hesitant attempts. The attacks were incredibly fast,
How fast?
lasting less than a second in some cases, up to maybe 4 seconds max. And in 40% of those observed attacks, the catfish had more than half its body out of the water.
Wow. Fully committed.
Totally. Briefly stranded, but committed.
Did they figure out how the fish were targeting the pigeons? What senses they were using?
Yes, and this is fascinating. They noticed the attacks were only triggered by active birds that were moving, drinking, splashing a bit at the edge.
Okay.
Pigeons just standing still nearby, never attacked. And they observed the fish raising their upper jaw barbels, those whisker-like sensors, as they approached the bank.
The barbels.
Exactly. This strongly suggests they're relying on water vibrations, detected by the barbels, not sight. Which makes sense in often murky river water.
So the barbels are like super sensitive vibration detectors, feeling the tiny disturbances the pigeon's feet make on the wet edge, maybe?
That seems to be the mechanism. They're feeling the vibrations, pinpointing the location, and then launching the attack. It's quite sophisticated, really.
Incredible. Okay, so the behavior is real, it's risky, it's successful sometimes, and they use vibrations. What did the chemistry, the SIA, add to this?
The SIA confirmed what the behavior suggested. There's a high level of trophic niche variability in this catfish population.
Meaning they don't all eat the same thing.
Not at all. Big differences in diet from one individual fish to the next, even though they live in the same stretch of river.
And the pigeons were the key factor splitting the group.
Absolutely. The isotope analysis showed that pigeon consumption varied hugely between the sampled catfish. Some showed almost zero sign of eating terrestrial prey.
Sure.
But for others, the specialists, the models, estimated that pigeons could make up anywhere from, say, 12% to as much as 78% of their diet.
78%. Some fish are basically living off pigeons.
The model suggests it's possible for some individuals, yes. It's definitive proof that a subset of these catfish have become highly specialized bird hunters. It's not just an occasional snack for them.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though, the size thing. You mentioned they sampled fish up to 2 meters. But which ones were doing the hunting?
Right, this was a key finding. The catfish actually observed beaching tended to be the smaller ones, generally in that 900 to 1500 millimeter range, so roughly 1 to 1.5 meters.
Not the really huge 2-meter giants.
Apparently not, or at least much less frequently. The data showed this negative relationship, though it was marginally significant, statistically speaking, between body size and pigeon consumption.
So smaller fish seem more likely to be the pigeon specialists.
That's what the data suggests.
Which seems counterintuitive. You'd think the bigger, stronger fish would be better equipped for such a risky maneuver.
You might think so, yeah. And that leads directly into the so what section. What does all this mean?
Right, the implications.
Well, first, from an invasion biology perspective, this is huge. You have an alien species developing a totally novel behavior that lets it tap into a completely new food source, land birds.
Which could massively boost their success in the new environment, right? More food options means potentially bigger populations, more impact.
Exactly. It highlights this concept of behavioral and trophic specialization. This new strategy leads to some individuals becoming extreme specialists, relying heavily on this unusual prey.
But why the smaller fish? That's the puzzle. What were the researchers' hypotheses for that?
They proposed two main ideas. Hypothesis one is about competition.
Okay.
The thinking is maybe the catfish population in the Tarn is really dense. Or maybe their usual food's smaller fish, crayfish, is getting scarce.
So there's lots of catfish fighting over limited aquatic food.
Potentially. And in that scenario, the really big catfish, the 2-meter ones, probably dominate. They get the best hunting spots, the easiest aquatic prey.
Leaving the smaller guys struggling.
Right. So this intense competition within their own species might force the smaller, less competitive catfish to innovate, to look for alternative food sources, even risky ones, like pigeons on the bank.
Innovation driven by necessity. Makes sense. What's the alternative hypothesis?
Hypothesis 2 shifts the focus to cost versus benefit, pure energetics and risk assessment.
How so?
It might just be that the physical cost or the danger of beaching is much, much higher for a truly enormous fish. Imagine a 100-kilogram catfish trying to launch and then wriggle back.
Yeah, the risk of getting permanently stranded seems way higher for a bigger, heavier fish.
Exactly. Whereas for a smaller, maybe more agile 1-meter fish, the risk might be lower or the energy costs less prohibitive. For them, the high energy payoff of catching a pigeon might outweigh the risks.
So for the smaller fish, pigeons become a viable new ecological opportunity, while for the biggest ones, it's just too risky compared to ambushing another big fish in the river.
That's the idea, a better energy trade-off for the smaller individuals. So is it competition pushing them out, or is it a better cost-benefit ratio pulling them towards this new niche?
A classic nature versus nurture type question almost. Pressure versus opportunity.
Kinda, yeah. It's likely complex, maybe a bit of both.
Now, like any study, this one had limitations. What couldn't they quite pin down?
Well, a key limitation, and it's a practical one, was monitoring specific individual catfish over the long term.
Right, tracking one single fish continuously.
Yeah, that's hard to do with large river fish. So they couldn't directly link, say, this specific fish's observed attack success rate with its exact dietary percentage of pigeons found via isotopes, and then connect that to its overall fitness, like how fast it grew or its reproductive success.
Gotcha. They have the population level picture and strong correlations, but not that complete individual life history link.
Exactly. And that points directly to where future research needs to go.
Which is?
The authors really emphasize needing to figure out those individual ecological consequences. What does specializing on pigeons actually do for a catfish's life and success? And also trying to tease apart those ecological drivers more precisely. Is it really competition, or is it energetics, or some mix that maintains this very unusual behavior?
So lots more to investigate there.
Definitely.
Okay, let's wrap this up. What's the core takeaway from this deep dive into the freshwater killer whales?
For me, it's a powerful demonstration of just how adaptable introduced species can be. They aren't just static invaders following old rules.
Right.
They can learn, innovate, and develop complex, high-risk strategies, things entirely new to their species, to exploit a new environment. It shows how quickly consumer-resource relationships can shift.
Absolutely. The idea that a big, heavy freshwater fish can, in just a few decades, start mimicking a hunting technique of sophisticated marine mammals. That's pretty mind-blowing. It shows that even fundamental boundaries, like water and land, might be more permeable than we think when the pressure or opportunity is right.
It really does. And maybe that leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Considering how often species are moved around the globe now and how adaptable they can be, what other fundamental ecological boundaries might be getting crossed or are about to be crossed by invasive species adapting in unexpected ways?
That's a slightly unsettling but important question. Where else are the rules being rewritten right now?
It's something worth keeping an eye on, definitely. These catfish show us that nature can still surprise us, often right under our noses or near our riverbanks.
A great point to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into trophic specialization and the surprising skills of the European catfish in France. We hope you found it as fascinating as we did. Definitely something to think about next time you see pigeons near the water. Go explore those ideas of rapid adaptation further.